Hey there, it's Dave at PreciseAlgorithmTrading.com, and it is Thursday, June 8th, 2023, and we're going to do our daily review, which I wanted to show you guys is right here on the website. This is yesterday's daily review, but here, after I get done doing today's, I will post today's, and then there is an archive here, and I'll move today's to yesterday and so forth. So, by the way, this algorithm trading system's right here. This tab is where we explain a lot of stuff about how these work. There is a lot more than obviously is just on this page. I think it's obvious anyway, but this talks about equity peaks and drawdowns and how things work in the market. So I have a lot more content that we can give and plan to give, but this is where you kind of get a start. So we'll go from here. I'll flip back, and this is going to be where we're going to get to here in a bit. Stockcharts.com is a tool I use. It's a free tool, but it's also, they have a paid service as well, but we'll use the free parts. So let's flip over here and see what the markets did today. So yeah, the Russell zeroed out, so that's a bummer. But let's look here. The Dow, the $DJI on Thinkorswim. So over here on the right hand side, just to get kind of going here, is that's the daily chart. Over on the left hand side is the weekly chart. I don't always explain this stuff thoroughly, but um, green candles are more bullish, red candles are more bearish. It's not a perfect system because, like, there are times when, for instance, but you can see a lot of them actually work. This is, green candles. If you buy just on the first green candle, in a lot of cases, there's a nice gain. But like, here's a situation on the right hand side where my crosshairs is going around, where obviously if you bought, it's got a red candle right there, and then it comes back up to a bunch of green candles, and then it sells off, and that would have been at best a break even, but probably a loss. And then you have a green candle up here amongst a bunch of reds. So it's not perfect. Nothing is so far that I've ever found. I continue to look for something better, but if you put all this together, it does work. So let's go from here. The Dow went up today by 168.59 points, which is 0.5%, and the S&P went up by 26 points, 26.41. I don't know if everybody can follow this, but like the Dow, if you look at this on a chart, it came way up, pulled way back, and it's pulling up again. So there's something in the markets, and I'm going to draw it out here, called a bull flag. And I don't know if I can draw a perfect bull flag on here, but let me try. We'll draw between these highs down to there, and then we'll just extend this. We'll actually duplicate it, pull it down to the lows, and it's really interesting to me how the lows really touch when you do this. And that's a bull flag pattern. So because it came up off of a bullish move back here off of March's lows, came up into April's highs, and then we started jig-jogging back and forth, and then we broke this upper trend line, which you could have drawn when you had a high and a lower high. And then it broke this to the upside, and now we're going higher again. So this is called a bull flag, or a descending channel. And when you break these things to the upside, you typically get a move. And I'm going to draw this, and I'll get a lot of flack for this, but you can almost expect a move like this over here. Now, this is not a never, not ever, always situation, because it's just not. But that is the idea. So we're just getting started on a move to the upside in theory. It probably won't make it all the way, and it'll go back and forth quite a bit, and it'll pull you underwater and all these things. So, but anyways, that is what's happening, or that is what looks like it's happening here. And on the weekly chart, it looks like it would be playing out similarly. There you go. So then the S&P, to in contrast, it's already way up here to the upside, and it's been climbing, and so like it almost looks like it needs a rest unless it's going to push higher. But if you look over on the weekly chart, it's been pushing higher. So I'm trying to draw a contrast to show the Dow is just getting up and going, even though it had a nice move back in March and April. The S&P has been going, and it needs to like take a breath. So if you kind of contrast those two things and you look at them, it's like all the indexes don't usually, well, lately anyway, all the indexes don't go up at the same time, and they don't go down at the same time, and so you kind of got to play this back and forth thing. So let's look at the Nasdaq, and it's actually even throwing in a red candle right now. So the Nasdaq really ripped higher, and it has to take a pause. So I actually ended up taking another half of my position off of the big Nasdaq stocks like Google and Amazon today. Even though you had a big sell-off yesterday, which I actually took half of the position off the other day when we were hitting these 52-week highs, and then it pulled back hard yesterday, and then now it's pulled back up today, and I went ahead and took off another half of that, because if it continues to go higher, I still want to be participating, but if it goes lower, I won't be nearly taking as much heat. And you can see down here on the True Momo indicator that we have two dark blue bars in a row, and we've got a sell signal I mean, it's, these things aren't like it's not like the death of the stock or anything. It's showing that it could pull all the way back easily to this moving average, to this one standard deviation, which is what the yellow lines are, and even all the way to the green line, which is another moving average. So I just don't want to ride all the way back down, even though bullishly and momentum wise on True Momo on the weekly chart, technically speaking, it's still all pushing higher, and there's no reason to do anything. That's something I'm trying to get better at, is taking profit at the tops and then letting it pull back and then buying back in again and then moving back in to go higher again on a bullish position. All right, so the Russell, let's just look at it because it zeroes out somewhere before 8 o'clock. It has been pushing higher. It pulled back a little bit. I took most of my profit off the table yesterday. I don't think I'm in a Russell index fund today anymore. And I might regret that all the way up to 1916, but I don't think so. So I think we're going to continue to get a little bit of weakness here, and the Dow stocks are going to be the ones that are going to pick up. So we're going to have a little bit of a sector rotation going on here. TLT. I was in this. I talked about it last night. I stayed in even though everything looks a little bit bearish. I'm only in a partial position right now. I do look to, we start to get some green lines going on my EMA chart in the middle here. We're already bullish on the True Momo chart. We're generally bullish on the RMO down here at the bottom. And we are red across the board, I think, over here on the weekly. That's why I can't take a full position yet. But if we start to get some green going here on the EMA chart, then I'll get more bullish. But we've got a ton of resistance overhead. But once we get past that, if I zoom this out a little bit, I mean, that is 52-week highs right there in the 120 area, and we're at 107. So we'd be shooting for the 120 area if we can kind of get up and going here. I'm not going to say it's going to get there, but I'm going to say there's just going to be some. I think a lot of markets behind the idea of moving there. All right, and then oil. It's got a lot of reasons to think about being bullish here, except it's early, just like the bonds are, and actually it's looking red again tomorrow. So I've been really toying with the idea of taking a position here, a partial position, but I'm not ready yet. So I haven't, and it's again a down arrow today again, or going into tomorrow, I should say, because if we look at the actual USO contract, there's still a lot of reason you might want to get long here. The USO actually has a bullish arrow popping up over here on the weekly chart, which only has one more day left to go, which is your Friday, and we could see what, depending on what happens literally tomorrow, if we get it, and I'm going to go ahead and set an alert for that price level, which says at or above 63.83, which is sort of random, but if it gets there, I'll get a signal and then I'll look at it and I'll decide if I want to do anything about it personally. And I suggest anybody that looks at this stuff, you want to do a similar type of thing, you got to look at and make your own personal choice. All right, back to stockcharts.com. Type in bullish. The industrials didn't move today. The New York average went up by 1%. The transports didn't move today. It was a big move yesterday. The NASDAQ up by 0.59% today. The SPX tacked on a new green X to the upside today, 1.49% up. The OEX, which is the S&P 100, didn't move today. And then the S&P 500, the NASDAQ 100 didn't move today. So, it's really the same story as yesterday for the most part, except yesterday we had some bigger moves of basically some more buying coming into a lot of those sectors that we were just looking at there. And last but not least, our automated trading system. This is the Dow, which is really irritating me because that's a big sell-off, and more of a sell-off in the last day or so. Still looks fine on a 6-month chart. The Russell actually pulled back up a little bit today. That's probably just one trade, and it looks fine on a 6-month basis. It's still the NASDAQ is the one that's really moving the best here, and we've had some great moves here in the last couple weeks, and more today actually. So literally from this $35,000 level, or 38 or whatever it is, up to 52 here in the last couple weeks. And that's just in our position with our sizes, position sizing. That's position sizing in this thing is really what matters, because you have to be able to take the downturn. So I have to have enough capital in my account to be able to go from this $35,000 level here down to a $25,000 level down there and not get wiped out. That's really what it boils down to on every one of these. I have to have that there. I have got to be able to handle going from 2,000 here to minus 5,000. That's a big move that is awful to take, but you have to be able to do it. And if you look at it on a 6-month or a yearly chart, these things happen, and it's like the bigger market. If you're just going to be a buy and hold investor in the regular stock market, you have to be able to take the downturn, and you have to be solvent when it's time to go back up again. Well, it's the same thing here, and that's what it boils down to. So I hope that helps, guys. One more day in the markets for the week, and I hope everybody has a good one. And I'm expecting probably more of a sell-off because we're going into a weekend again. Most of the time Fridays are pretty rough, but the ones that aren't are a lot more fun. So hope everybody has a good one, and we will talk to you tomorrow night. Or actually, maybe not tomorrow night, it'll be over the weekend. So take care, good trading, and have a great night.